Hello, friends, and welcome. I just want to say thank you to all my old subscribers for hanging in there with me, and welcome my new subscribers. But if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload videos. This Friday, I am finally able to process my Azure Standard cheese whole or cheese products that I got because I was waiting for what's in this box. So part of it, of course, I'm going to just shred and put in my freezer. But the other part, I'm actually going to try and wax. This is some cheese wax from the New England Cheese Company. And it says you should start with at least 5 pounds. So I got, since I had quite a bit of cheese that I wanted to try and wax, I actually got 6 pounds in total. Oh, this is heavy. I got red. I was going to go with black, but I got red instead. Ask me why. I don't really know. So here's the company that I got it from. Just folding over my info. But here's where it came from. And I also got some cheesecloth because I wanted to see what their cheesecloth looked like. And some butter muslin. So this is the cheesecloth, how it comes. I wanted to see the holes in it because the one I have has a fairly big amount of holes. And this one seems finer than my other one. And this definitely is finer. So I might use this one for the little project I have coming up. But I'm super duper excited about my cheese wax. So, a couple of big blocks. I have a pot that I'm going to melt it in. And we are going to process the cheese that I got in my Azure hole. So, stay tuned. So here is my cheese from my hole from Tuesday. It's Friday today. And I got my wax yesterday afternoon. So this is a great time to do this. The Parmesan cheese we use on our pizza. I'm just going to shred this up and put it in some Ziploc bags and put it in the freezer. And we're going to use it from there. I'm going to do most of the mozzarella that way. We're going to use some in a recipe tonight for dinner. So I'm going to do that. And like I said, most of it's going to be used for pizza. But the cheddar cheese, the raw milk cheddar cheese, this is the one I'm going to wax. So I'm going to put a small block in the fridge to use now. And then most of it I'm going to wax. And I think 1 or 2 pieces I want to put in the freezer to see how that works. I don't have a lot of freezer space, but we'll see how this goes. So I've cut up all my cheese here. And I'm going to let this just acclimate because it's been in the fridge for a couple of hours. And then I'm going to move on to the next step. And I'm going to, while that's acclimating, I'm going to grate the rest of it and get it all vacuum sealed and what I want to put in the freezer in block form. Get all that done. And I did use some gloves, just some household gloves that I use like when I'm cutting up peppers and stuff. Because they say you shouldn't really handle it with your hands because the oils in your hands can get on the cheese. So that's what I did. And hopefully this is going to work. And I'm going to get on to grating the rest of it. So I'm here trying to process my mozzarella. I've got it all cut up. I was going to try and wax it. Well, some of it. But if you look at it, it has like holes and stuff in it. So I was figuring that if I waxed it, the wax would go inside of that. And then we're ingesting it. I don't want to do that. And I tried to grate it because that's what I was going to originally do with it. And as you can see, it's not grating very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it into big chunks like I have here. Vacuum seal it and put it in my freezer. And I will say Azure Standard, this cheese has ruined my existence for other cheeses. I can't go back. I've been eating this since I opened that cheddar cheese back there, and it's delicious. By far the best cheese I've tasted. Now, I'm not a cheese connoisseur or snob or anything like that, but seriously, this cheese is awesome. I may never go back. As long as I can get this cheese, I will be ordering from them when I can, because I'm serious. This cheese ruins it for all other cheeses in my life. I love this stuff and I can't stop eating it. So let's try and get this in the freezer before I eat all of it. Well, not all of this, well, maybe like one block. But I'm definitely eating this shredded because that looks terrible. That's my thinking anyway. So that looks terrible. I'm not gonna freeze that. I'm gonna put that in my stomach. I'm gonna make an omelet and put that on top of it, and that's gonna be my breakfast. It's all vacuum sealed and ready to go in the freezer. I've labeled it. This one is cheddar and the date. I've got P for Parmesan and M for mozzarella. So it's all ready to go in the freezer. I did notice while I was vacuum sealing them, some of them took to vacuum sealing better than others. Say for instance this Parmesan. You can see this one is cinched really tight. And then I have this one, which it doesn't really matter. It's going in the freezer, and we're going to use it up fairly soon anyway. It's not that tight. But what I noticed, if you can see the bag is kind of creased a little bit. It was the end of the roll, and it was kind of wrinkly, but I still wanted to use it because I didn't want to waste Ziploc bags. No, not Ziploc bags. Food saver bags. And I have the roll, so this was like the end of the roll, and it was kind of crinkled. So it didn't vacuum seal as well as, say, this one that was sort of like in the middle of the roll and didn't have any creases up the top. You can't really see it too good, but there's no creases here. And this one was. And that was for several of them. Even the mozzarella, some of them are not as tight. Like, say, for instance, this one, you can see it's not tight at all. But that's okay, because I'm going to use these up within the next couple of months anyway. And in the freezer, I feel fine doing that. If it was out, maybe in my fridge or something, then I would want it more sealed than this. But I think this is okay for the short term. It's not a long-term deal because, like I said, we're going to be using this in the next couple of months. And it'll be used up in pizzas and dishes and stuff like that. So this is going to go into my freezer, and then with my cheese here that's still sitting out, is probably going to sit out probably another hour before I move on to the next step. So it's been about 4 hours since I set my cheese out. Now I've taken the cheese and I've got a wet paper towel with distilled white vinegar, and I'm just wiping the surface of the the cheese. I don't know. We're wiping every surface just so I could get any oils or anything that might be on it off, because you don't want any oil, because that's gonna inhibit the waxing process. And I just want to make sure every surface is wiped with that distilled vinegar. Then I'm just going to rest it on my cookie sheet. I put it on a tray because it's easier to move that way to where I want it to sit. I'm going to sit it in a place here on my counter where it's going to be undisturbed for the next 48 hours. And I'm just going to put a clean dishcloth over it like so and leave it 48 hours. I'll come back and start the actual waxing process. So my cheese has been drying for 2 days. As you can see, I just put that there. But there's my cheese. I have 6 pieces. And I did put a paper towel down the bottom because I didn't want the rack maybe transferring something onto the cheese or interacting with the cheese or anything like that. I put the gloves that I used on the side because I want to reuse them when I dip my cheese, because they say you shouldn't touch it as much as possible. I have my little crock pot here, and my wax is starting to melt. At least I hope it is. It's starting to get warm, so we'll see how this goes. It might take a while. Just put it on a little crock pot that I got from the thrift store specifically for this, because once I put wax in it, that's all she wrote for this crock pot. So it's nice that I can store this. It has a top on it, and I can store my wax for the next time I want to use it. I'm just going to put like saran wrap on the top so it's kind of airtight, and put the top on it, and then just store it away. and I figured that should be good enough. So it's getting warm. So hopefully this crock pot works. I plugged it up at the thrift store and it warmed up, but we'll see. So I'll bring you back when it's time to dip the cheese. So I had to improvise. My wax has been in the crock pot for 30 minutes, and this is all that melted. So I had to make a double boiler, and now it is on my stove. Okay, so I have my wax. It's cooled down a little bit, and this could be horribly wrong or really good. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm glad I put down the tissue. I don't know if you can see this, but my little cheap cookie sheet I published, cooling rack, started to bleed through. I don't know if that's rust or what, but I'm glad I put the napkin down. So I'm going to just dip about halfway. It up. I'm going to do it a second time because it doesn't really look like it's covering that well. So I hope you can see this. And then what I'm going to do is turn it this way up and put it down on I'm putting wax paper. And I'm going to do that for every single one. Then I'm going to turn it over, let that dry, turn it over, and then wax the other side. I'm going to do it twice on each side. So now time to dip my second side. I will say that it was pretty much dry by the time I was finished all 6 of them. So I want to overlap from the first side. If you can see that, I overlap just slightly, probably like an inch or so into that one. And then I want to see if you kind of turn it a little bit. I'm going to grab it so you can see it. If you turn it like to the side, see how this is kind of rigid? You probably can't see it very well. But if you turn it to the side and let it drip off, you won't get those ridges. So I'm just going to continue dipping the second side. So I am on my second dipping, and hopefully you can see this. Pull you back a little bit. So I dipped it this way, so I'm turning it this way now. Because see the line? If you can see the line there. So I'm turning it the opposite way. I don't know if you're supposed to do this way, but this is the way I'm doing it, and it's working. So just dipping it down and kind of letting the excess run off, because if not, it creates sort of like air bubbles on the top. Not air bubbles, like built up wax on the top. So I'm going through and I'm dipping the other side second time. Double dipped all of those 5, and I just want to show you on this last piece what it looks like when it's not double dipped. So you can clearly see the side down the bottom is only dipped once. The side on the top is dipped twice, and you can see how much darker it is. Hopefully it's picking it up in the camera. I can clearly see it with my eyes. So I'm going to dip that second side, and then I'm going to be finished. This was quick and easy. And as you can see, not too much of a mess. Actually, what you're seeing there is from the little toothpick I had to make sure everything was melted. I was stirring the wax just to make sure everything was melted. And I'm going to dip my last side, and then I'm going to be finished. I'm going to let it air dry for overnight, and then I'm going to put it into an airtight container in a cool, dark place. My 6 pieces of raw milk cheddar cheese from my Azure Hole. Some of them are kind of crooked, even more so when I've waxed them. But I'm glad I cut them into this shape instead of a longer, because I was going to do sort of like that longer rectangular shape. I'm glad I went square because I just had enough depth in this container to dip each side. It was kind of getting close at the last couple of ones. So a pound of wax. I still have a lot. Sorry about that. My phone ran out of memory and the recording cut off. But I was saying I still have a lot of wax in my crock pot. And I would say that 1 pound is enough to do at least 6 of these and have some left over. And you want to have enough depth in your pot so when you're dipping, you're not touching the bottom of the actual container you melted the wax in. So this is the plastic container I will be storing my wax cheese in. I have lined it with paper towel at the bottom, and right underneath the cheese there is a layer of wax paper. So just in case anything leaks or anything like that, it will be absorbed by the paper towel. And I will store this with the top on it in a cool, dark place. Where did I get it from? The little crock pot that I got from the... Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and click that notification button to be notified when we upload videos.